the shotgun starts, the team concept, all of that stuff doesn't fundamentally address the problem. Golf has 4 majors, a couple of other high-value, elevated events. Spin whatever you want as an elevated event, but ultimately just a couple more that are almost on the level of a major,
Right.
and then a whole bunch of filler. And so to bring in a B-tier product to compete on level footing that ultimately offers nothing but filler, I don't see it working long term.
Nope, just adding more kale to the salad bar. People already don't want it, so let's give it more of it. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Third variety of lettuce.
Welcome back, everybody. It's No Putts Given. How you living? Golf Spy T, Golf Spy C, Chris Nickel, Tony Covey. Did that thing say slay on it? Are you becoming like, are you, okay. I thought it was like, you were like doing the lingo with the kids, like that slays.
No, I'm not slaying. Yeah, no, this is, our buddy Victor sent me this years ago.
Look what I found for you, Tony.
Yeah, I like the BOA Fit system dial on the back of that, but that is
not gonna happen.
That's a no from me, dog.
All right, well, I just thought I'd throw it in there.
Yeah, throw it somewhere.
I just threw it away.
I do have a couple pairs of the BOAs that I need to start working on Titleist for. I've been busy. I gotta take photos first. Like that's the process. I gotta take the photos before I can try the shoes. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm like, why is this idiot posting dirty shoes?
You have an abnormal like of taking pictures of shoes, I think.
Are you suggesting I have a fetish?
I'm suggesting something. I don't know.
You are.
Yeah, I am. All right, last week we talked a little bit about slow play, but it's reaching an inflection point. The tour is going to do whatever.
Nothing. They will do nothing.
They'll do nothing and like it until, I don't know, till somebody just leaves their group and goes full on, just playing out a turn or something. I don't know. But here's where it kind of matters, maybe. Maybe it matters more to you and me. And do we have a slow play problem on the courses that you and I play on the weekend? And what, if anything, can be done about that? So is slow play an issue across the board, golf in general, not just golf on TV on weekends?
I think probably. I know a lot of it depends on perspective too. So I play at a semi-private course, which typically means members in the morning, riffraff in the afternoon, if you will. And a slow weekend morning round is 4:15, something like that. So that's when you feel like your dragon's like, oh my God, it's 4 hours and 15 minutes. But you get into the late afternoons, 5 hours, not unheard of. The resort-ish course down the road from me, also semi-private. They don't even call themselves semi-private. They just have preferred player packages. So
semantics.
Anywhere from, yeah, exactly. But rounds in the summer there, especially when we get into track season, it's legendary for the 5-hour round.
Oh, yeah.
And it's absolutely nightmare. So, regardless of what your perspective is, I know some guys, 3 hours and 45 minutes is slow. They want to go out on a quiet Tuesday afternoon and burn around as quickly as they can. But, yeah, I think for many of us, golf takes longer than we should. And, for me, it's not about obsessing about the clock. Like I don't care if it's 3:45 or 4:15 as long as everybody's moving. If there's a continuous movement, it's when you get on that tee box and you just stand there and you're like, "Whoa, we're young guys." I mean, when you're waiting on a tee box for 5, 10, sometimes longer,
right?
That's just. I mean, it's no fun and it kills the round.
I want to point out two things on each end, because on the semi-private play or public or private or whatever the case is, I think there's two reasons it's the golfer's fault, at least, for slow play just in general. But I also think there's a couple reasons that it might be the course's fault that people play slowly. So I'm going to start with the course. And here are two things that I think the courses could do and should do, but might never do. Number one, think about a golf course kind of like traffic on a highway or whatever. And I remember one of the very first times I came up to one of those merge things, and it had, hey, 2 cars per green light or whatever. I'm like, yeah, what is this? Screw that. And I just went. And when everybody does that, those lights are there for a reason, right? To try to keep some sense of flow. How many courses out there just jam pack the course with tee times? I'm talking every 8 minutes or whatever. And they basically see it as a revenue play, right? It's like, hey, we don't really care if it takes you 4 hours, 4.5, or even 5, because maybe the longer you're out there, the more times the beverage cart stops by or whatever the case is. And we're going to get as many people on the course as possible. And we know that every 8 minutes it's going to back up sooner rather than later. So, we got to make money. And when it's nice and the weather's out, we got to make money. We got to get as many skiers on the hill. We got to get as many golfers on the course as we possibly can. So, too bad. I think that doesn't really give players a chance, maybe. Suck it and pay up. That's my number one issue with courses. Maybe your course does that. Maybe they don't. Number one issue with players, they just don't know how to play quick. How do we teach them to play a little bit quicker? How do we teach them to, play ready golf, to not line up 2-foot putts that are meaningless? I don't know that you're going to solve those because it's a, again, public game where not everybody's going to have the etiquette pieces down. And, some of that may just be, there's always going to be bad drivers in the world, Tony. Sorry. I know. Tell us what the deal is already. Yeah. I don't know. Tell us what it's like at your course. Who knows? I was watching, well, I can't lie. I didn't watch. I heard about
I heard a story.
I heard a story. LIV Golf, right? They're down in Australia. Looked like the crowds were good, Tony. From what I saw. Is this, should we quit giving LIV so much crap for not having, great crowds and these things and being energetic and all this stuff? I saw, Troy Mullins was down there doing interviews and people, and they're in Australia. Should we quit being so hard on them?
I don't know. I think it's a blip, right? If you look at sort of attendance and not as relevant to this part of the conversation, but the reported viewership, whether that's streaming or, immediately preceding Dawson Creek reruns.
One Tree Hill.
C-dubs.
I'm a big One Tree Hill guy.
The numbers have not been great by any objective measure to date. You can spin it and go, well, they're just getting started, whatever. And if you take that they're just getting started and you see the uptick, which I think is fair to say, I think that was real for last week. There was an uptick in Australia. So if you want to spin that as a positive, I think you can. But I think you also have to be very aware that this is an event in Australia. My understanding is, right, you have a population that enjoys golf, likes golf, wants to watch golf, but is by and large deprived of any type of professional golf. And I get there are Australian tours and things like that. But in terms of the best players in the world descending on Australia, right? And this is definitely tier 2 of the best players in the world. Let's be honest. This is not the PGA Tour.
Right.
The roster is just not there. Again, spin it any way you want, but that is the reality. It's, by and large has-beens and guys who haven't won in a while, and also Cam Smith. That's kind of...
And DJ, yeah, but whatever. Yeah.
Well, and what has DJ won lately, honestly? So, and I'm not saying he's washed up, but he certainly has not been in contention at majors and things like that. And so,
So big deal or not? The Australia.
It's interesting, but I think I wouldn't read too much into it because, again, you have a unique situation where you have a population that's hungry for golf that doesn't get professional golf.
Right.
And maybe that's the key to LIV's future is, hey, as long as we stay out of the United States, we're going to do really well. But I think trying to compete with the PGA Tour in the U.S. market, it's not going to work long-term because for all of the stuff that may or may not be cool, again, depending on your perspective.
Sure.
The shotgun starts, the team concept, all of that stuff doesn't fundamentally address the problem, which I've touched on before, is golf has 4 majors, a couple of other high-value, elevated events, and you can spin whatever you want as an elevated event, but ultimately just a couple more that are almost on the level of a major,
Right.
and then a
Right.
whole bunch of filler. LIV is just more filler. At this
Right.
point in time, it's more filler. It saturates an already, again, oversaturated market because TV viewership numbers suggest that golfers don't want what they already have. They don't watch it to by any really
Right.
significant measure, not only comparing the majors, but as I've said before, comparing majors to other sports like mid-season NFL games. The viewership is not there. And so to bring in a B-tier product to compete on level footing that ultimately offers nothing but filler and team-based filler, I guess, I don't know. I don't see it working long term.
Nope, just adding more kale to the salad bar. People already don't want it, so let's give it more of it. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Third variety of lettuce.
A third variety of lettuce. Really quickly on this question, Tony. Is Titleist a step behind?
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Finish your question, though.
What are they a step behind on, Tony, since you're reading my mind? We get on Titleist at times for being methodical.
That's a good
in
word.
its approach to sometimes releasing products that might get a designation as modern or, maybe a little more risky or cutting, a little bit more conservative when coming to market. But here's a place where Titleist might be too slow. Where?
Golf ball. Like, I don't even want to call it customization. I just want to, cool stuff on a golf ball. Something that competes with a TaylorMade Picks, a Callaway Truvis. We saw the ERC fade ball that Callaway did. That's of something between a triple track and a tour response stripe type of thing, right? Kind of splitting the difference there. And I thought, well, that was really cool.
Ombre. It was kind of ombre.
Right, and TaylorMade with the My Symbol thing and ultimately I hope you find that on a pick someday where you can put anything you want, whether it's from a catalog or maybe even get to the point where you update your own design, put that on a picks. Something that kind of makes the ball unique. It appeals to you on more than just a quality level, which is kind of a crazy thing to say because, as of this date, based on Ball Lab results, nobody's matching Titleist for quality.
Nope.
But give me something more interesting than a white ball or a yellow ball or
what would even if Titleist goes, hey, Tony, great call. What do you want on there? And what would be the first thing that you would want consumers to have access to, or the first thing that they would change because you told them to?
Yeah, I think it's personal preference. Like, of all the designs I've seen.
Well, I know, but what's your personal preference?
I kind of like the Picks approach. I really do like Picks, and again, I don't like necessarily the original design, but kind of that multiple markings, semi-symmetrical things on a golf ball that gives you something to look at and you can focus on when it's at address. I think it actually helps with that. I'm less concerned with triple track and lining up putts, but that's kind of where I'm at. I think stripe is cool.
I think it's because you play FIFA. I think that's what this all comes down to, is that you actually like metric football better than golf, which
I do.
I think is probably fair. I want a picture. I like the TaylorMade My Symbol. I like being able to put something in there. So when people, hey, what do you play? Oh, I got Titleist 4. I'm playing Titleist 2. I can be like, hey, I'm playing a Titleist Covey. And I could have your face right on there. Be like, hey, I'm playing a Titleist Covey. I'm like, what? Boom. There it is. Done. So
chicken
Titleist,
wing.
if you're listening,
I'm playing the chicken wing.
We'll see.
Titleist chicken wing.
Titleist chicken wing.
Yeah, I'd like to see them do something in it. I get it's not a priority, and it hasn't been a priority coming out of COVID when
do something.
Demand far exceeded supply, but okay, that's behind us. Do something cool on the design front. Try it. Give me something.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of subscription services in the world in general, but one thing we are seeing is kind of more of this idea of subscribe and save in the golf industry. I think it works some places, doesn't work in other places. Sometimes subscriptions get kind of the 4-letter word connotation because you feel it's like, I think recurring bills. There was a time when subscriptions kind of felt like, buying a timeshare, really easy to get into and impossible to get out of. But I do think there's a time and a place. So I have my new current favorite one that I've been trying out here a little bit, but You like them? You like the idea of subscribe and save? Does it have a place in the consumer element of the golf world?
I think I mean, why wouldn't it? It seems to have a place in every other sort of consumable. I'm sure you have some stuff on subscribe and save at Amazon. So,
Yes, I do.
we get some stuff for the dogs on subscribe and save. My wife probably gets some products I don't know about on subscribe and save. And that and the end save part makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could just go out and buy 6 dozen. We'll use TaylorMade as the example in this case because they have a subscribe and save program on golf balls. I could buy 6 dozen at the start of the year,
Yeah.
or I could just get a dozen or two every month delivered. No effort on my part. I save a little bit of money on each one. It makes sense on a consumable good. You could maybe, for some guys, make a case that Odyssey should set up a putter of the month club type of deal. It's just
there are people that would save money that way. Yeah.
But yeah, you've got one there that's interesting.
Yeah. So like, here's the thing with the subscription stuff. The place to me where it works is number one, if there is an element to it where you do actually save money. I hate the things where you get like a coupon for a store that you never go to, but you're like, oh, look, if I go here and spend $20, I'll save $10. But if you never go to that store anyway, you're just spending more money now to save something. So really, you're just spending. So
I'll save $80 to save 4.
Yeah, exactly. So it has to be something that you really are going to save money. Like I said, dog food. Like we get our monthly Chewy order for our dogs. It's great. It's there. It shows up. It does the two things. One, it does save me a little bit of money. Two, it is more convenient because regardless of what people say, oh, I don't need somebody to, remind me to do this or that. Yeah, you do. Everybody forgets to do stuff. You put Post-it notes on your computer and your wall or whatever. Hey, don't forget to do this. So anyway, the one I've been working on here, Red Rooster, they have a glove one, and the thing that I like about their subscribe and save deal is it's like all the benefits with no of the catches. So like, there's no upfront fee. You can literally cancel anytime by like pushing a button. There's no person that's going to try to talk you into, hey, well, let me get my manager on the line and see if I can do A, B, or C,
What if I can save you $2 a month?
But wait, there's more. It's not like calling Sirius XM or something. It's like, Jesus.
DirecTV.
No, it's not. So there's none of that. Literally, you turn it on, turn it off. You can increase the number of gloves you get each month. You can change the types, da-da-da. Do you save a ton of money? No, not a ton. Maybe 10%, something like that. But the thing for me that I like is I know I'm going to go through X number of gloves a year. Like I just have an idea. So I just set up that amount on the subscription platform. And I know, okay, I'm going to go through this number because it avoids the two things that tend to happen. One, you show up to the golf course and you're like, oh, shit. Where's my? So you go in the pro shop and you end up paying through the nose for one glove based on whatever
That's probably not a glove you want anyway.
Yeah, and it's whatever they happen to have in there. Or two, you get that really old, crusty, nasty thing that you try to bring back to life with some saliva and.
So that's I'm saying. What do you? How far do you push a glove? Because I will keep a glove. I don't care what color it is. Like I've posted pictures of myself holding balls, and guys on Twitter have like blasted me for wearing an old dirty glove, and I'm like, it's fine. It's dirty, but it's still tacky, and it doesn't have holes, or it only has one little hole, or maybe just two little holes, but not a rip. Like how I will play them until they disintegrate. I don't care. But what about you?
So now that I have my Red Rooster gloves, I might toss them out a little sooner. I will play it. I will use a glove until I get a hole, like in the palm area, because that's when it's starting to get slick in other areas. So if I get a big hole kind of there, what I'll do so I don't tempt myself is I just tear it. Like, can't use it anymore. That one's gone.
But you don't have like a color basis where you're like, this is looking too brown. Like some guy on Twitter
I don't care about that.
Of this.
I don't care about that. It's basically
we're filthy.
Is it usable? Is it not? So I don't know. I think there's a place for it. I think there's some cool stuff out there. Is it convenient and does it actually save you money? And is it something you buy anyway? if you don't buy it anyway, then saving money on it isn't.
Let's save $4 a month on something you didn't need before you found out you could save $4 on it.
I know. Travel bags came out this week, Tony.
They did. Best travel bags.
It doesn't seem like the kind of thing a lot of golfers are going to jump up and down about in terms of our tests.
It's probably like a low thought item. I don't know.
But can you make an argument? Can we make an argument that people should be more excited about it than they generally are?
Maybe. And I mean, so our winner, the Sun Mountain Club Glider for, I don't know how many years in a row this thing has won.
Mm-hmm. A couple, 3, 4 maybe. I'm going to say at least 3.
And it's one of those things where I have a travel bag. It's pretty good. It's an OGO monster. It goes back, I gotta say it's at least 15 years old. Like I've the original OGO golf travel bag. It's held up exceptionally well despite everything that the airlines and the TSA have thrown at it. Has like a skid plate on it that's turned different colors over the years depending on what it's been dragged across. Held up well, and I felt like, man, I've got a really good travel bag. I'm happy with this. And then I forgot what it was or who brought it, but a few years ago, this was immediately after it won for the first time. One of our guys shows up at the airport, and he's got that club glider. And I'm like, what the hell? How come my travel bag doesn't have folding legs with wheels on it? And you start to see it's such a little thing, but I think if you've rolled a travel bag through the airport, a standard one, it's like inevitable, right? That it gets like it bends as you're dragging it. So you got this dip
kind of does. Looks like an EI profile. It's like
banana. It goes a little banana on you. And with the wheels on and I don't own one, I'm kind of jealous, but I'm kind of happy with the OGO, but it's just like,
are you getting less happy?
So cool. Like just no better way. Like, and somebody asked us on our call this week, they said, why doesn't everybody do this? I'm like, I'm sure it's patented because it's a really good idea.
I think, I mean, here's my couple arguments that people should be more excited about this than they are. Number one, you're not going to buy travel bags. I get it. Like at the rate that you buy other things. Like I said, first of all,
it's not a subscribe and save item.
It is not no, there should be no subscribe and save platform for travel bags. But it's one of those things like you buy maybe once a generation kind of. First of all, you have to travel a certain amount for golf to make it kind of feel like it's worth it. Right. Secondly, it's like, oh man, it's kind of like a nice thing, a really nice set of rain gear. Like you don't really see the value in having a really nice one until you really, really need it. And you convince yourself that as you're using something else that it's good enough to get by until you try something else. And you're like, oh man, and that's kind of the experience. Like I have not tried the Sun Mountain one. Everybody that I've talked to that has it's just ridiculously easy. Like it just is. So if you're going to buy one and want to have it for 10 or 15 years, that's one to do it. I mean, the other ones, there are other great options. I mean, like I said, Ping was number 2. I've used that bag and it's great. It stands up. I like it's easy to get stuff in and out. No problem. Titleist just purchased Club Glove or Acushnet, I guess. So you'll see those bags. I think that was like number 4. OGO, where they're rocking and rolling. OGO, their Alpha Max was number 3. So again, you'll see some more similarities, but the best products that we seem to test that are kind of like that generationally really, really good stuff solve a problem where it's like, dang it, how come and they solve it in such a way that it separates itself, right, from the others where you're just like, oh man.
And I'm looking at the top 5 too. And so we've got, you said Sun Mountain number 1, Ping 2, OGO 3, the Titleist / Club Glove. Somebody asked why we didn't test Club Glove. And I'm like, it's here. It's just now an Acushnet brand. So we got it. And then the Vice 5th. And among the top 5, the Vice is the inarguable bargain at $180.
Right.
But the next least expensive, I mean, I guess you can call it a tie. I'm not going to split hairs over the difference between $339 for the Sun Mountain and $340 for the Ping, but
it's $1.
Larger point, you're getting what is habitually our best bag with a cool feature that I think makes wheeling it around way easier, and it's among the least expensive of the top performers. So yeah, it seems like if I was gonna buy a bag, it
Yeah.
would be a no brainer to get that one, just
Yeah.
based
If I
on
was going to buy a
not
bag,
only
I'm
our
not.
tests but seeing it and seeing people using it and just going, I'm
Yep.
jealous.
No
So,
brainer. So maybe you are excited about it. I'm more excited about it. I think people should be more excited about it than
if you
we
can get
generally are.
excited about a travel bag, this is the one. Sure.
Tony, what is coming up this summer? Little tease, quick tease.
Yeah, we are.
What do you get to do this summer, Tony?
Yeah, we are gearing up for our third. This will be the third time doing the robot ball test. So we are well into the planning phase right now. So it's going to
So we're
happen. It'll happen
thinking
in July,
July, execute it, results as
August,
soon
probably.
thereafter as possible, but August-ish.
Yeah, because we'll be testing into. We won't be back until the beginning of the third week of July, and
Yep.
it's not typically a quick turnover. We try and do it quickly, but you can't just
Quickish.
go, here you go, half-ass, full blast.
Oh no, nope. Those are called embargoes. That's what we tend to see there. So here's something people get confused all the time, and so maybe we can help with this. What's the difference between our ball lab that comes out generally pretty frequently, Wednesdays often, and our biennial ball test? What's the difference? Because people continue to get this confused. Ball lab versus ball test.
Yeah, so ball test is performance. That's where we're gathering launch and spin characteristics, trying to look at some other things, height, trajectory in general, looking to see if there's anything, for lack of a more concrete term, wonky in the ball flight, which is something we see from time to time.
Wonky.
Sort of the ball flight, for example, was one of the biggest clues we had to an off-center core problem once
Mm-hmm.
upon a time.
What's about
So that's the ball test. That's your performance data. The
performance?
quality, the ball lab is quality. It's not we ideally we've got the performance data, but now we want to know how good is a given manufacturer at making the same ball time and time and time again, because
Yeah.
the more deviation there is in the quality standard, if the more sort of difference between one ball and the next, the less consistent that performance is going to be. And in some cases, you can have two balls from the same box
Right.
that we would expect to perform appreciably differently from one another, based on the fact that one of them is kind of typical of what it should be, and this one maybe not, whether or not it's compression, or sometimes we get balls that aren't round, or we get balls that are really
As
big or
odd as
really
that
small.
sounds, not all of them are around. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so you get a variety. We find a variety of things in ball lab as well, and so
ball
we think
lab.
between the two, we paint a pretty good picture
Yeah.
of all things golf ball.
Ball lab is not going to tell you what ball is best for you. That's where you care about performance characteristics, those things that we see in our actual ball test, right? But what ball lab is going to tell you is, once you find a ball that fits your game, how often are you going to be able to expect that level of performance from that ball? So, we're 98% confident that you're going to see this ball perform like X, over time. And like you said, kind of marrying those two pieces of data is kind of what we're working towards moving forward. How many balls are we going to test, Tony? Just real quick. Do we
50,
have a number?
50,
50?
just
50.
50.
50.
50. 5, yeah.
It feels like a lot.
Yeah.
What did we do
We're
last
having
time? Do you remember off the top of your head?
35
Last time?
ish.
35-ish. So this is darn near a 50% increase.
Yeah, we're doing some things. This is we're getting creative to make this work, and we have a way to make it work. And so now we're like I said, planning. Gonna have some conversations with some manufacturers to see if what might be available to us in terms of balls that may not be
on the market just yet.
technically on the market at the time of testing. We'll see. So
We'll see.
Yeah, we're shooting
Stay
for 50
tuned.
balls. And with that 50, as you'd expect, we have a healthy number of balls we feel, we meaning the mygolfspy staff, we feel have to be tested.
Yeah.
And that does take up a healthy percentage of the test pool. We can't not test a Titleist golf ball, for example.
Right.
We
Not going to happen.
we have to have the big brands in there.
Absolutely.
And certainly they haven't helped us by. I think they've helped the consumer, but they haven't helped us when Bridgestone, for example, has 4 urethane models. When Titleist has, is it 4, 5, 4 urethane
but we have
models.
the tours. Yeah, so tour speed or
no 5. Yeah, tours. So
5.
Titleist with 5, and you've got TaylorMade 2, Callaway 3 at least, and so the big guys take up a lot of space.
You're already into double digits pretty quickly there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and so but we will we hope, I guess, hopefully people find this exciting or cool, but the plan is we know we're going to have X number of slots available hey, this could be interesting. We don't know if we need to test this or not. So I think we'll get to the point where we'll be able to have the readers vote on some balls and ultimately help us make the decision as to which balls round out the test. So
yeah,
we shall see. TBD.
TBD. Do you have your running shoes on, Tony?
I do not.
Well, you're going to need them because it's speed golf time.
Okay.
Let's go.
Love it. Yeah.
All right.
Can't wait till we get some intro music into here.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a deal is Uneekor purchasing a good chunk of Evnroll? We got mergers and acquisitions. Uneekor, tech company, South Korea, purchased a big chunk.
6.
6?
Yeah, I'm kind of a barely, like, it's not nothing, but it's not super compelling. 70% stake in Evnroll.
Yep.
If only because based on other Korean acquisitions, Titleist, effectively Korean owned at this point. Who else? I slip in my mind. We just wrote it up here. TaylorMade. There we go. That's the one I was going for. Right, and I think at least one other notable. Superstroke. There we go. It's all coming back to me now.
It's all coming back.
And for the most part, none of these companies are by and large left to operate as they see fit. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think you're going to see Uneekor come in here and change everything.
No,
which would be foolish. And it's always weird when companies do that. Like, hey, we bought you because you're really successful and you're in a space, you know what you're doing, and you're in a space we want to be.
And all that, yeah.
And we're going to change all of it. So I don't think you're going to see any major impact. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Uneekor moving forward, as they're, we've talked a lot in the club space about companies trying to figure out North America. Well, here we go. This is a simulator company trying to figure out North America. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, how about this one? Edel Golf changes ownership. This has been in the works for actually quite some time, just officially announced here last week. Doug Coors, part of the Coors family of hops and barley.
Beers.
Purchased Edel Golf, moving the HQ to Denver, all those kind of things. Again, scale 1 to 10, Tony. Big deal, small deal?
8. I think it's a bigger deal than Uneekor, if only. I don't know that Edel at this point necessarily is bigger than Evnroll, but certainly a broader reach within the golf industry, having iron lineups. And I think, behind the scenes, as much as people love Edel Golf, it has a following. Behind the scenes, it was kind of dysfunctional. I think that's fair to say.
If you walked, it was the really cool looking house, and you're like, man, they got some cool stuff going on. The roof, this, that, whatever. And you open the door, and you're kind of like, that's interesting. And you go to another room, and you're like, oh, God, what is that? What's going on here?
Like the equivalent of an episode of Hoarders, right?
Yeah, we're like, whoa, all right.
So I think that with new management and presumably a new direction makes sense under that management. There's an opportunity for that company to do some things that I think it probably wasn't, couldn't, didn't, whatever you want to use, didn't in the past. So bigger deal.
Bigger deal. And Doug Coors, I know him reasonably well. is like a logistics genius. Like that world of business development, organization, processes, engineering,
Getting that
stuff.
Rocky Mountain stream water into the
Yes,
can.
that's it, man. He knows what
Doesn't put itself there.
he knows what it's doing. All right, two more real quick.
Yeah.
There was a team event on the PGA Tour this last week, Zurich Classic. People talk about players getting their first win, etc. Should players get the same number of exemptions and benefits from winning a team event as they do an individual event?
I don't know. I don't care. I just don't care. No.
All right, then I'm
half as many. Half as many because two guys, half a win each, half as many.
Perfect. Done.
Math. I just mathed it.
You just mathed it. Last question. Tony, why do two-piece balls even exist? Why do we have two-piece balls?
Because some golfers are too cheap to buy good balls. That's it. For preference.
Preference.
It's simply
and
a
that preference being I want to spend as little as possible.
Or I want a bright blue ball, or I want a super soft ball. As soon as you go to two-piece, you are sacrificing performance for some other preference, and I don't understand that.
So is it fair to say the only reason to purchase a two-piece ball is either a cost issue or it has some other element of preference?
Yeah, it's all preference.
That I can buy into.
100% preference, 0% performance. And I know somebody's going to argue, well, I play better, whatever.
No. Shut up. Yeah, no, you don't. You actually don't. You just don't know it yet, which is totally fine.
Convince yourself of anything, but false.
You can. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Golf Spy T, Golf Spy C, no putts given. We're out.
And we're back.
And we're back.
We're working on it. There will be at some point some cool music, and we'll disappear and all that stuff. But
yeah, and then we'll
just kind of play whatever you feel in your head, hum along, whatever. It's the end of the show. Transitioning to the after show. Welcome to the after show. The after show. The after show. Welcome to the after show.
Little Mumford and Sons.
Something.
Little Mumford and Sons. I'd have as an intro in
Ted
there.
Lasso theme.
Today's topic in the after show, the after party. What the hell is LAB Golf anyway? We're talking putters. Dave Wolf, our resident putter guru, by this point likely hasn't. I think we'll have the article up and published. Hopefully,
it will be. It'll be. It goes up before this, so you'll be able to reference that which we are speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is it, Tony? L.A.B. stands for Live Angle Balancing, which is LAB Golf talks about it as their kind of proprietary technology, right? So in the world of putters, we basically, I'm going to take this out for a second, right? We have the concept of like toe hang putters, right? So you get a putter and it kind of does this, right? So if it hangs down, you can kind of see if that were a clock that's pointing at, I don't know, 4 o'clock, 4:30, maybe. Like that'd be 3, that would be 6. So we're, in that 4 to 4:30 space, right? And you have putters with varying degrees of toe hang, and there are companies, right, that would say, hey, you want to match up that amount of toe hang with kind of the natural arc of your stroke. Ping is big on this, right? Every time I've been with Ping, I am a mild or kind of slight arc stroke. So I have a natural tendency to want to.
I believe that is the most common stroke type. And you
I
have
would
many
imagine.
guys. You have many guys who believe that they're straight back, straight through, but that is actually the least common. So
you tend to be a pretty strong arcing guy, from what I recall.
I believe it's largely a setup issue, but yeah.
You are. So we kind of have that idea, right? And then second idea being kind of a face balance one. Like if you take your putter out, and I don't have a face balance one here handy, but if you hold it again and just let it balance on its own, that face points straight up. And again, we kind of have that as a face balanced model. Tony's Oh yeah, there you go. There you go.
Let's see.
Yes. Does it have a little toe hang to it? Just a
a tick.
fraction. But
Just
yeah,
a
more or less
tick.
face balanced. All right.
Just a tick
So
on the PXG warthog. They can call it a blackbird, but that's a warthog.
it's a warthog.
Anyway,
We know what it is.
I digressed as per usual.
But those have been kind of the two, right, dominant fitting kind of parameters or categories of putters over time. Very quickly before we move on, Tony, can you see that if I hold that up closer? Do you see what that is?
It says Mills.
Yep, TP Mills. Do you see the picture on the toe?
What is that?
It's an Odyssey swirl in his state of Alabama. Remember when Odyssey signed TP Mills for like 2 minutes?
Oh yeah. No, that was big news for 47 seconds.
Yeah, he made like 5 prototypes. Here's one of them.
Oh.
Yeah, who knew? Then we get to this other space in putters where you'll hear different things, right? So I'm going to throw in some company names at you. You have, you got low torque, no torque, zero torque. Companies will talk about toe balanced. So in the previous show we talked about David Edel or Edel putters. They talk about different balance points. You have, my gosh, axis one.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole idea is that it spins on one axis, kind of thing. But talking about L.A.B Golf. So again, I'm kind of holding that putter in the same way. Like now, before, we had putters that did this little face, some that sat straight up, and now this one is balanced with the face toward the target. We saw a little bit of that, something similar. Again, I'm not going to say it's exactly the same, but Evnroll had a putter with kind of their zero model last year, the EV0 or the ER0. Kind of had that face forward technology, that idea. What's the purpose of that, Tony? Why on God's green earth would somebody create a putter that has more or less this type of balance orientation to it?
The idea is, right, it takes the rotation out of the putter head. Is that how it's supposed to play?
Yeah.
It's the little thing that they swing around. It's mesmerizing when they put like a Cameron in that little device in it. What do they call it? The revolver or something?
Revealer, revolver. Yeah.
Revealer, yes, and it just kind of, it can lull you. Yeah, it's almost comforting, especially if it's not your putter that's twirling around with that. So yeah, that's the whole idea, right? Is to keep the putter itself from twisting and turning through the putter stroke.
So the way that I understand it, and I'm sure there are more technical terms using physics and stuff like that, but the way that I understand it and what I've noticed in terms of using it is throughout the putting stroke, the face does want to just stay square to your target line the entire time. So I kind of think of it like if you were to have a situation where, like, let's say you were out in the backyard and it had snowed a bunch and you just created like a little path for your putter head, it would never deviate from that little path. Like it just stays right in there. And it doesn't open, doesn't close. The idea being, right, that it's going to be easier for you to start it online if you're not letting the club open, getting it to close, and right, we're trying to keep that face angle consistent at impact. I don't want to say like 0 degrees at impact because that's hard. There a lot of really good putters are either 1 degree open, 1 degree closed, whatever, but they're just that all the flipping time, right? So the idea is to get that face angle as consistent at impact as possible. So to me that part makes sense, right? Like if I'm going to open a door, close the door, and then let the door swing through, well, what if I just didn't open it? Like that makes sense to me. I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
It's kind of like a quiet hand kind of thing, right? Like it just... Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've never used one myself more than just messing around on the putting green. Which one? And that's the other thing with Lab. Everything ideally is to some measure fit for the golfer. It's not like any
Right,
off the rack thing, and so I don't have any way of knowing if
right,
the ones I tried fit me or not.
right.
Kind of an interesting feel in the hands. More
Yep,
so than that, shall we say, interesting to look at. I mean, these are not
absolutely,
these are
absolutely. I
not
mean,
conventional shapes.
no,
I mean, you could
no.
argue that's loosely based on a fang, but
I
very
mean,
loosely.
yeah. And I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I think of any place within the golf industry on equipment, less traditional approaches or less traditional aesthetics are all over the putter sphere, right? I mean, once upon a time, the two ball putter looked like, what is that thing? Like you have a Volkswagen attached to the end of a piece of metal, and you're going to putt with it? Really? Now we got people using grips, broomsticks, you know, traditional blades, a lot of mallets that are out there, a variety of different signs of mallets. I think Brian Harmon may still have like the largest putter by like square inches, like out on tours. The thing's huge. So,
And this is one for me where I do put some stock into what the guys on our staff are playing,
mhm.
because by and large, especially the guys at HQ, where they're testing between mallets and blades, 60 putters a year,
Sure,
access to basically anything of consequence on the market.
right.
And what do we see? Well, Harry, before he went to Wilson, was playing a lab putter. Tried the lab putter,
Hmm.
fell in love with it. Philip,
Hmm.
same thing. Kind of like, oh, this looks weird. Ha ha ha. Oh, wait a minute. Well, Philip's got a lab putter. And I don't know if you're playing it, but you've got one. You seem to like it. Dave Wolf, in the article, he freely admits that he was somewhat dismissive of lab. I would put myself in that category, somewhat dismissive of lab golf as well.
Yeah,
And he seems to love it. Who knows if it's tough for anything to stick in Dave's bag because he's the ultimate putter hoe.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's true.
but the fact that he's like, yeah, no, this thing seems to really work.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
see, like I don't know how you go about choosing a putter. My process, by and large, is I go on site visits or events once, two, three
Sure.
times a year, and somebody fits me for a putter, or I steal a putter, and
Yep.
that's what I play. That is the extent of thought, and it's like, all right, what was I fit for most recently? Cool, that's what's in the bag.
Hmm.
That typically how it works for me. But I think if you're gonna put some thought into it and do it right, I mean, like I said, our guys seem to love these things, and I don't personally, from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't necessarily get it entirely, but we also,
You don't
you
need
know,
to.
no, and we did that. I mean, that was the thing we did. We haven't done it in a while, but several putter tests ago, we did it 2 years in a
Oh
row where
shit!
we,
Somebody's at my door. Hang on.
okay,
I don't know what they're doing. Hey, good man. Oh, interesting. Yeah, can you just hang on just a minute? Awesome. Thank you. All right, that's interesting.
okay. So we haven't done it in a while, but several putter tests ago, we did this thing where we not only had guys putt and we collected data and results and all that stuff, but we also had
Mm-hmm.
them rank each putter on the way it looked. Like, what is, from an aesthetic
Right.
standpoint, how much do you like
Yeah.
this putter? And there was an almost, in many cases, inverse relationship between looks and actual performance. So, at that
Right.
time we had some Scotties that didn't perform well for us. Guys loved the way it looked. They're like, oh yeah, the best putter.
Oh yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we'd look and
But
it was like 24th out of 30 for a given tester. And then we'd have things like the ping catch, for example, when that really caught fire, where guys
yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is the ugliest putter I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? It's 3 strokes better than anything else you tried. And so I'm looking at this going, I don't know, but I've seen enough of our own data to suggest that the fact that I'm going tells me that I actually have no idea how it would perform for me, and maybe some evidence to suggest that the more you hate it, the better it's likely to be.
The craziest things happen when people care more about performance than aesthetics. And one of the things that I've noticed in, I'll say, dabbling with the L.A.B putter is there's a learning curve to it, for sure. And I think this is why we've seen in some of our testing really sporadic results, like the Link 0.1, kind of their blade style putter, did not do very well in our most wanted testing. However, in our mallet testing, their mallet, the Mez Max that I was just showing you there, finished second overall. So we get some of these really disparate,
and that's without any, our test is basically an off the rack test. So we don't
exactly.
We do fit from stock, for example, with drivers and things like that, but it's by and large.
Yep.
This is what you would get if you walked into a golf shop, and that gets tricky with things like L.A.B, where it is inherently intended to be a 100% custom fit solution.
Exactly. And so the other thing that I've noticed about it, and I think this will be kind of an interesting thing, we're going to do more of a longitudinal member test with this, with data, because this is 100% subjective statement. I don't have any data to back this up at all. But what I feel like I hear from people that do use L.A.B putters is they seem to stick with it in the sense that maybe it's kind of an acquired taste and maybe there is a learning curve to it. But once you get comfortable and kind of get in that space with it, you're not swapping it back out for something else. And it could be because it is like, okay, I got this. It makes sense now. I'm in a good comfort spot with it, and I'm going to kind of stick with it maybe a little bit longer. And so we're going to put some testers through that and kind of see it, if that holds up. But if that's true, I mean, that also could help explain why, like I said, when we fit from stock and we kind of fit how people would buy off the rack, and then, yeah, there are products that are out there that are really, really, really not intended to be purchased that way. This is probably one of them. It's going to be, I think that part's going to be super, super interesting as I dabble with it a bit more as well. Yeah, I'll just be interested to see, kind of see how it turns out. So thoughts,
Alrighty.
Feelings, hopes.
Yeah, it's a nice curiosity to me. But yeah.
Am I going to see one in your bag this year? Am I going to see one in your bag this year at some point, Tony?
You know my rule. It seems to be, like I said, last putter fit for. So, although that's like right now, I still have the PXG Warthog.
The Warthog.
What I call the Warthog. But I got fit for a different PXG putter when I was out there. I haven't put it in the bag yet. I've been putting pretty well. The rest of my game's been hot garbage, but back to putting pretty well.
Yeah, we'll update on that one next time. Well, if you have questions on the L.A.B putter or putters in general, ask Dave Wolf. He'd be more than happy to answer all of them. No, you can ask us too. We'll see what we can figure out for you. But until next week, Tony, we're out again.